24 Board of Adjustment meeting. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Kays.
Here.
Aletsky.
Present.
Culhane.
Here.
Brink.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
And Dolly.
Here.
And Dargis Johnson is absent. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Third item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Fourth item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Fifth item on the agenda is our regular agenda. 5A is board consideration of a variance request at 718 31st Street Southeast. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So this is a request, and I'm going to see here, I think somebody might not be muted and it's echoing. If everyone could please mute themselves on Teams. Or I'll mute you. Okay. Perfect, thank you. Oh, Diana left. Okay. So I'm going to get this pulled up here on GIS, but this variance request was before the board at the August 8th meeting, and it was denied with the 4-1 vote because we did have the minimum quorum, so it actually needed to have all 5 votes. Today, now obviously with this being a variance request, this is, we do have the full board here, so we would need 5 in the affirmative. And the request here, it is the same with asking for a 10-foot side yard setback in the C3 Highway Commercial District. If you recall, this property at 718 31st Street was, this is over by south of Dunnick, north of Highway 212, which I'll get pulled up here where you guys can see the vicinity map. But we did rezone this property from I-1 to C3. So it is brought into conformance as far as the lot size, because it is about 216 feet in length, 100 foot in width. So it's just over the minimum lot size requirement of the 20,000 square feet. When it was zoned I-1 previously, I-1 light industrial, it was non-conforming because you need 30,000 square feet to be in the I-1 district. The other thing about the property that's been brought into conformance has been the removal of the single-family residence that resided there. And so it is now just a commercial property, and hang on here.
Property I-1, C3, so it is brought into conformance.
Okay, got that. So, and the other thing that staff has also prepared because of, and you'll see on that, well, you hopefully have reviewed on the agenda item, that the historical variance request that the board has granted, and when staff sees that and the board as well, the best thing to do is to make an ordinance amendment to just make it consistent across the board for what we are requiring and administering. So that will be coming up on Plan Commission, on the Plan Commission, which also we're proposing that we actually call the Plan Commission the Planning Commission, because that is actually what it is called. So that will be, we'll discuss that with the Planning Commission with that hat on, but obviously we do the Board of Adjustment items first. So you'll see there too, and we'll go over this when we go over the non-residential setback ordinance amendments, but there have been 12 variance requests granted for side or rear yard setbacks. And then, and there have been 2 denials. One, and this is for the I-1 and C3 districts. This doesn't include residential as far as the denials. So there's been this request here, this was denied at the August 8th, and then there was one in 2023 that was an I-1 property. So otherwise there have been the 12 granted. So it is just it's really a cleanup of if we think it's okay and it does meet building code for that 10-foot setback in the C3 and I1 districts. So with that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Brandy. And I very much agree that if we are granting variances over and over, we should, propose an ordinance amendment and take that to city council and see if they concur, which it looks like we're potentially doing later today. I do have a question. This is kind of the second variance in the last couple of months that's been denied and then brought back to us. When do we just bring variances back, and when do we go through the next step of the appeals process?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That actually, I meant to touch on that actually. So in our ordinance, it actually states, now we've always thought it's been 6 months. Now that is for like a rezone request, an ordinance amendment in that sense. Underneath the administration of variances or conditional uses, it is just, the board can prescribe a time up to 5 years of when an application cannot come back. But since that wasn't done, then it does leave that door open. So obviously, if this would continue to happen, obviously the board would make that part of your motion.
Right, and we happen to have the plan commission agenda that has those ordinances in there, and, we can prescribe a time up to 5 years, that's 210203, but then 210204 is the appeals. So since we didn't prescribe any time a month ago, but, so they can just bring it back here, but had we prescribed a time, or even if they chose to, they could go through the appeals? Is that how that works?
That's correct.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, in my mind, I think having it open-ended in this situation is probably fortuitous because we didn't have a full board hearing the variance request. So I think it's probably an opportunity if we would have had a 6-month preclusion from allowing that, Mr. Bradway would have to wait 6 months to come back and ask. But this way, being that we didn't have a full board there, maybe he felt that he didn't get full due process, and now he has an opportunity to reapply. And I think that's probably why the ordinance is written as it is right now.
Yeah. Yep, thanks, Todd.
There's a public hearing. I will open the public hearing if anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this item. Please feel free to approach the mic and state your name for the record.
Hi, Brian Brandreit here. I did sit before you board some time ago. As you recall, I was on vacation at the time and I phoned in. My phone call was muted at the time, so I got in on the last little bit of the conversation, and I think it had to prove a hardship. I am kind of in a jam here because the lot is after rezoning it down from I-1 to C3, it meets the minimum width requirements, which is 100 feet. With a 60-foot building, I'd have to have 20 feet on both sides. If I can move it over to the north side, I would end up with 30 feet on the south side. That would barely be enough to turn a 24-foot straight truck into a door on the side. And if I don't have that side door, I basically am going to have to leave a 20-foot alleyway clear through a 136-foot building. It would be terrible to try to lay out a building with a 20-foot alley right down the center of it. I really need this door on the side there, and to be able to turn into it, I need 30 feet. So I kind of am in a jam.
Mr. Chair.
I feel like it's a pretty worthwhile project. I got that mobile home. Well, the garage and the breezeway are tore down. The mobile home's ready to be moved off. I'm waiting on, there's a guy gonna move it off, so we're kind of waiting on him, but I'm wanting to get going on this project. It's definitely gonna clean up that area really nicely.
Brian, basically your request before us today is exactly what it was at your previous request, and there's been no changes to the building footprint, the layout from what you had asked a month ago.
That's correct, Todd.
And then, at the last meeting, we had talked about making some sort of assurance that there would be no outdoor storage on the north side of that building in that open space. If we went down to the 10-foot, we wouldn't be storing pallets and crates, and that would be just more of a grassed area.
Yeah, that'd just be a grass area.
About that? Okay. All right, thank you.
That,
Thank you.
we could reserve that for drainage.
Yeah.
Before you leave, can I ask you what size building you're looking to put in this? Is it the full 140 by 60 foot? That's the current buildable area?
That's the size I could build, but on 8-foot rafters, that would be 136. So it either, I mean, I could go to the 140. That's yet to be seen, but 60-foot width is what I need, as well as the at least 136 long or 140.
And then when are you looking at wanting to build this?
I'm wanting to get going right away.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that question is because, as previously mentioned, we are looking at possibly changing the ordinance, you know, and I sometimes hate to get the cart before the horse. I mean, I personally feel like we should reduce the side yard setback, but I can't speak for everyone on this board, nor anyone on the city council either. And I would hate to, you know, try to force a round peg through a square hole if that doesn't happen. I mean, if that does happen, then, you know, this would actually not even need a variance if we went down to the proposed 10-foot side yard that's in our subsequent meeting. So I just was trying to figure out timelines. So thank
Sure.
you.
Well, I kind of felt at the last meeting, I kind of got, you know, I couldn't speak because my call was muted, no fault of anyone's, but I didn't really get an opportunity to kind of defend my side of it. And this is a legit, I mean, I need this side door to make this deal work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know there's been a lot, pretty much everyone that's wanted one has gotten one except for one. One came back a second time and got it, one of the two that didn't get it the first time. It seems like it's a fairly common thing. I'm hoping my grievance is realistic to all of you.
And if the building went down to 50-foot wide, it could be shifted 10 foot to the south, and you'd have the 20-foot setback, and it'd be 50-foot wide. Would that be able to do what you're hoping to do in there?
It wouldn't, because I have a tenant that, not tenant, but a person that wants to move into the building and actually purchase it. I have to get farther down the line before he'll sign, basically, but there's a really, really good chance that he will take it, and he's going to need that for sure. But regardless, you're not going to want a long, skinny building, basically.
So you need the 60-foot width.
I do.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak in favor or against this item?
Doesn't appear so.
Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance as requested. I will use the findings and justifications that I made at the August 5th meeting regarding the past history of issuing similar type variances in this geographic area and other zoned areas similar in nature. Furthermore, that the idea that there is going to be zoning ordinance amendment that would make this not necessarily even need a variance request in the future going forward. The only condition I would attach to, or as amendment to the proposed motion, would be to reserve the north 10-foot area as a green space between the wall and the north property line.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Chair,
Go ahead, Diana.
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Diana.
I too, Jeff, have an issue with putting the cart before the horse and trying to make a decision on something the council has not yet reviewed and approved. So also, the staff did find at the August 8th meeting that this did not meet the hardship determination, and the mere loss in value is not the basis for issuing a variance. As also the ordinances forbid or prohibit us from looking at other nonconforming uses in order, when you're considering grounds for a variance. So all of those nonconforming uses that have been approved really aren't appropriate in this discussion. I just have a problem with saying I'm going to vote on something in hopes that the council proceeds as we expect. That's all.
Thank you for that.
And just to clarify too, and so we really can look at this as just a variance request, because that's how it would come before you anyway, even if we didn't have the ordinance amendment going forward. So that's still, the board acting on the request is still appropriate.
I see that point. However, the staff has found that there is no hardship.
The staff doesn't
The
determine
staff
that.
is the board.
Mr. Chair. Diana, the way that he was talking about it is that to fit what the person that wants to buy it needs the 60-foot for their parking and storage. That is the hardship, I think.
True, that is a good point, Bonnie, but the mere loss in value does not justify a variance.
It's not so much the value, it's the loss of use.
If I could, Mr. Chair, to Commissioner Ford's point, she's not wrong that another size building could be placed on this lot, therefore not meeting a hardship determination to warrant a variance, I believe is what Commissioner Ford is trying to express.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, Heath. Thank you.
And another thought I had is do we want to put a condition on if this were to fail, a timeline before it can come back? Or does the board not feel that that's appropriate? Because again, the ordinance amendment that's coming before us later could get tabled, could, get approved, could get denied. A lot of things could happen there. We don't know where that's going. And depending on where that goes, do we want to have this variance before us again?
I would just take it as it is presented as a variance request standalone, not put any further conditions on it. I think it's been well articulated what the purpose and the need is, and the board has already considered, the input, so I wouldn't deem there's need to come back and put another condition on this.
All right. Seeing no other comments from the board, Brandy, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
All right, Spire,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Kohane,
Yes.
Maletzky,
Yes.
Kays,
Yes.
Ford,
No.
Dolly.
Yes.
Motion carries. 5B on the agenda is board consideration for a conditional use. Brandy, will you take over, please?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So this application here is for a couple various conditional uses for the property at 10 Second Street Southeast. So this is for the Fallout, oh my gosh, here, let me get my, Fallout Shelters Ministries, and the applicants are here, the Ohms. So they're seeking the conditional uses for social assistance, religious institutions, apartments over 4 units using the upper floor of commercial buildings, and apartments on the main level at the rear of a commercial building. So this is just to any of the uses that their business operations are utilizing or would like to implement. And they can kind of discuss further on their business plan and model. Here we'll look at their floor plan of the different areas that exist today. If any of the remodels that will require a building permit, which I believe is what was the trigger for this application because of the need for the remodel permits to exercise these additions or remodels. So with that, this is in the C1 Community Commercial District. It's actually, just down the street here to the south. Existing building, existing footprint, just some interior remodel, and then utilizing those requested uses. So with that, I'll stand by for questions.
Brandy, so again, just to re-educate us, parking requirements for these types of uses, it's all off-street parking on Main Street. We don't have any set-aside parking requirements for any of these uses in the C1.
So in the C1 district, no, but that is why apartments come before us. And then there's currently parking available on the east side of the property in the rear with access to the alley.
Would that have to be a condition of the permit that they utilize that parking for the apartments?
Yep.
Okay.
Just to clarify the request here, if it goes forward, it's for a single apartment addition in the rear of the main level. And I understand there's an existing apartment supposedly on the second level, according to the staff write-up. It's not depicted on the diagram. It looks like it's been converted to some other use or purpose based on a diagram here. But there would be 2 apartments then within this structure, one on the main level rear and one on the upper level, correct?
Yep, at least. So how they have it shown on their blueprint, and the applicant can speak more to that.
Yeah. And then the proposal, I see access to the main level apartment is through the chapel. I don't see where the apartment access is, though. They're all solid lines. There is no exterior access to the apartment, it looks like, from the diagram.
And those are all things too, and that's a good catch, and I appreciate your review. Those are things that we'll look at in the building permit review too, and then make sure that it's compliant with building code. And for a unit, a dwelling unit, that would require its own exterior access.
Right, for the code and everything. Just want to make sure, understand what's being asked here. And then to the east is public parking, that's, the city owns that. And then to the west is the street side. Again, that's, city street parking there, beyond the right-of-way, boulevard there in front of the structure, correct?
Yep.
And then to the rear in the alley, has there been a look at the amount of square footage that is parking available from the alley access?
So this is parking on the east side, on the east side, and then that does have alley access.
Yeah.
And this here is,
To the south.
this is
public
city,
parking,
this
yeah.
is city of Watertown property there, so public parking.
Right.
And then this is right of way, so that is also public parking.
So there is no, I heard no requirement to have dedicated parking. If it's an apartment, it can be either a caretaker apartment or it could be leased. It doesn't matter, right?
No,
So they don't have to have any dedicated parking on the lot, the owner lot for that, each of those apartments then?
they wouldn't, because it's not a requirement in the C1 district. and especially however many they're showing. We've done it in the past where with these larger multifamily projects, when they're over a certain amount, you know, that then, and that's over 4. That then we do look at that just so it's not taking up all the on-street parking because there is no parking requirement.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
I will open the public hearing for this item. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against, please feel to approach the mic and state your name for the record.
Hi, my name's Richard Ohm. We're the owners of this situation. So in your question about the access through, I know the floor plan isn't perfect there, but there's access from the front all the way through the back via a hallway. There's doors all the way through the kitchen area in and out the back. So there's already access there. So actually, if you
Yeah, you go ahead.
so if you look right there, that's a doorway through. It just shows as a space, not as a door. And same thing here. So there's access out. That mouse is faster than me. There's access out both front and back as well. So.
And I think, were you guys wondering there about the exterior doors, just because that's not shown?
Oh, there's an exterior door right in the center of the east side. Exterior door on the north side.
Right there, front entry.
Actually, that'd be the west side. The front entry is the west side, and then there's a door in that little alley in between us and Nate. That's more or less a basement
Yeah,
access.
so you have,
Right.
your access is right here.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
about there.
Yep, so one off the north, the west, and the east,
Yep.
not off the south.
No, nothing off the south. Because that goes, our property butts up to the parking lot.
Mr. Chair, now, is upstairs, are there other apartments upstairs?
There's one apartment, and that's been there since they built the building
Yeah.
in 1970.
Okay, and then this area with the weight room and the gym, that's in the
That's
basement?
the basement, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was
and,
trying to figure that
we
out.
did have a third sketch, but apparently didn't get attached. That shows that the little apartment upstairs is about 450 square feet, so. And like I said, that's been there since 1917. So the only thing we're really adding is the caretaker apartment on the main floor. And then eventually, when we have the money, we'll be adding some extra bathrooms and things like that. Do you have questions about use or anything like that? Because it's not 4 apartments, it's only 1, but I don't know how the regulation reads.
I guess from my perspective, if we prove it here today, we got to assume that it could be used for leased apartments, regardless of what you ultimately do with it.
Yeah, that's not our intent, but I mean, it wouldn't hurt to make some money someday.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the applicant while I have him at the podium? If,
This is primarily to further your mission.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
I will ask if there's anyone else from the audience that wishes to speak in favor or against this item.
And actually, if you want, can you expand? So this will be kind of used as emergency housing?
We have a couple guest rooms that we're gonna have available to whomever needs it. So whether your house burns down or whatever, we'll have a place for you.
Which is a
It's a need.
great need in the community. So we've had housing studies, that have identified that, and so commend your
Yeah,
mission.
Thank you.
It's a good repurposing of the building.
What do you do?
Seeing no one else, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second from the board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do have a question or a clarification, I guess, on the request for number 26 of the conditional use related to apartments over 4 units using the upper floor of a commercial building. But as I understand, there's only a single apartment over the main floor.
So that,
Is this apply or?
honestly, it's just to allow options. Because the one apartment will hold the use. But they can, by a permitted use, they can do up to 4 already.
Right, right. And so there would be no condition to do up to 4 units, but when you go more than 4 units is when the condition would apply. But are they actually going to be building 4 apartments
No.
above the main commercial use?
No, and they said, yeah, there's no way. So, and honestly, just as staff, we added that just to make sure that we were covering all bases for what their project was. But, so that really can be removed and I think should have been.
I don't necessarily have a problem, with it if it had been included. It just seemed like it didn't apply in this case, so I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, so we could strike that if you want. Otherwise, it'll fall off in a year anyway because it won't be used. So,
Sure.
Let's just leave it and let it roll.
I have no problem leaving it in. It doesn't hurt anything. It was just a point of clarification.
And we have a motion and a second as proposed, so it has it in there. Hearing no other comments from the board, I'll ask for a roll call. Vote.
all right. Dolly,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes?
Kays,
Yes.
Aletsky,
Yes.
Colhane,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Spire.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Item 6 on the agenda is open public comment. If there was anything not on the agenda that someone wished to speak about. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Do we have any new business?
No, not for this one. I'll follow up with the asbestos DNR because that was plan commission. So yeah.
Okay, so no new business. Any old business?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.